Jenny, welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. And for y'all watching, if you also listen to the Stepmom Diaries podcast, you know that we have an episode with Jenny over there where we talk a lot about ADHD and how it comes up in kiddos and stepmoms. And so we wanted to come over here and have a quick conversation about how it shows up when you're running a business, because I know a lot of you guys are coaches or thinking about coaching or working on becoming a coach, and Jenny has been coaching for a while and has been building her business, and I just would love to learn more about how ADHD can show up when you're an adult, when you're trying to run your own business and all the things. So I don't know, how does it show up as a business owner, Jenny? And you're living with ADHD. So like what are the
Yes.
things that you notice that you struggle with or that the women who you work with struggle with?
Oh my goodness. Cameron, it's so great to see you. So excited to be here. Uh,
I know, we just gonna jump right in because we've been talking
I
on
know.
this.
I know. I love it. I'm so here for it. It's like I could talk about this topic of conversation for probably 27 hours straight without stopping or breathing. Ways that it shows up, one of the biggest ways that I've seen, especially with the clients that I work with, is getting stuck. It's knowing what to do, but not being able to get yourself to do it. That's one of the biggest things that I've seen come up and be a struggle. And there's always the question, is that specific to ADHD or what else is it? And it could be a number of factors, but that's a really big one is people with ADHD have trouble with prioritization. And it's not that you don't know what is important. It's that sometimes we see the whole forest and picking out the biggest trees can be kind of challenging because we get distracted by all the trees and everything feels urgent. And when you have ADHD, your brain is in this category of it's either urgent or it's not. It's either now or it's not. And everything has to happen immediately. Also, with ADHDers, we don't give ourselves a chance to be a beginner because we often have several different hobbies that we've tried or we've done a whole lot of things where we get good at it really fast and we usually skip the beginner phase. Building a business has a very large learning curve and a very large beginner phase. So that's often what really gets ADHDers hung up are those pieces.
So what does that look like? I mean, if you're an ADHDer and you are starting a business, like what does skipping that beginner phase look like and how can you avoid it?
Yeah. So it looks like I feel like I should be so much further along than what I am. It looks like building the team for the business before you have the business. Or it looks like sometimes people will take a lot of messy action, but not see it through completion. So it's like they will build out the brand, the offer, they'll build out all of the inner workings of everything. But then when it goes to actually launch it and start talking about it, they start to get stuck. Or they'll launch it once, it didn't blow up, and you're not making $1 million overnight. And because a lot of the conversations online and in social media make it sound like you go from nothing to everything in a matter of weeks, when that doesn't happen because of rejection sensitivity dysphoria and the ADHD life experience, it's like, oh, I must just be a failure and oh, I must not be cut out for this. They'll think that for a couple of minutes, but then they'll get another really great idea and pivot their niche, pivot their offer. So they don't ever actually give themselves a chance to fail. And when you don't give yourself a chance to fail, you don't give yourself a chance to succeed.
Yeah, so you're trying something and if it doesn't hit right away, instead of tweaking something with that offer, with that thing, you're just moving on completely and nothing's getting a chance to really percolate. And it does take time. And that, you mentioned something that's such a big pet peeve of mine. You do see all of these coaches online that are like, sign up with me and I'll take you from zero to $100,000 a month. And you're like, that's just not real. That's not, I mean, building a business is a grind. I mean,
It
you've done it,
is.
I've done it. It's a grind.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean it's not super fulfilling, but I love that you're kind of trying to reset expectations for our friends who may be watching and have ADHD because it's not an overnight thing. You have to really grind it out.
Yeah, and something too to look at is you see people who say, "Oh, built this business in a year and I'm making 7 figures in a year," which that's beautiful. I love that for them, but what were they doing before that? How many businesses did they build before that to get that
Yeah.
experience and that learning curve? And most of them have. They were highly successful in other areas, and it's like, that's beautiful, but they're not transparent about that because it doesn't sell. So, leaning into that and just really aligning your expectations, and something about a lot of ADHDers, we are, I'm just gonna say it out loud, we are delusionally optimistic, and that's part of the beauty of having ADHD is we see the big picture and how absolutely beautiful, incredible things can be, and then we're like, "Wait a second, but that's not happening next week? Like, what?" And
Yeah.
then we fall off and get bored, or we wanna do something else, or we pivot because it's not working, and by pivoting, we're still actively doing something, which means we're checking boxes, which is telling our brain that we're doing the right thing. Because productivity for an ADHDer is like gold. It's like if I can be productive and I can check off the boxes, of course I'm going to be successful. What often is happening though is the wrong boxes get focused on.
Okay, so for our women watching who may have ADHD and their coaches or wannabe coaches or whatever trying to build their business, like what is a really good strategy that could help them kind of overcome some of these humps and
Yeah.
really not fall into some of those traps that you mentioned?
It comes down to one word that they probably aren't going to love because I know when people said this to me, I was like, "Pff, screw you. That's not true." And it is.
That's good advice, right? When do you get to that reaction?
And it's self-trust is the big one. It is nobody can build your business for you. Nobody can tell you the best way to build your business. And when you are an ADHDer and you are starting to become an entrepreneur, one of the most beautiful things about entrepreneurship is that you get to create whatever you want to create.
Yeah,
It can look however you want it to look because it's your thing. And because of that, nobody can give you a framework that says follow this exactly from A to Z and you will have a multi 6 or 7 figure business because it didn't come from you.
right.
When you have ADHD, you have to do things your way. Part of ADHD, not all ADHDers, but a lot of us are a little rebellious, meaning that if somebody tells us to do something, we're going to be like, okay, great. That sounds amazing. I'll do it. And then we're not going to do that because somebody told us to. We have to do it our own way. And that's okay. But we need to understand that. So it's learning what works for all these different people, taking pieces of it, and then creating something that's authentically you and trusting that you're going to show up for it.
Mhm. Self-trust. I love that. That is such a huge and it's really hard when you're building your own business because everybody tells you like you need to go out and get a business coach and you need to have somebody coaching you with this and that. And there is a lot of value to that, right? But at the end of the day, those coaches can give you a lot of advice and options, but it's your business. You get the final say. And if you get advice that at your core you feel like doesn't fit for your business, like you have to make that call. And it's really hard to do
And you
that and
have to
be
be
able to
okay
trust
with getting
yourself.
rejected.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, yeah, it can be really hard. I'll end with this. Like, what is one thing you would tell someone with ADHD who's just starting their coaching career or just starting building their business? Like, what's the one biggest thing that they could do for their mindset from day one?
The one biggest thing that they could do would be to observe the way that they work best in their own genius is probably the biggest one because everyone is different and that's okay and that's beautiful. And learning and staying true to what you need is the best thing that you can do for you. And that's something that if I just would have done that and not fought it for years, it wouldn't have taken me as long to do a lot of things that it did. So it comes back down to that self trust, but then also learning what is your zone of genius and doing everything you can to stay there is probably the biggest thing that they could do for themselves.
I love that, and it kinda does come back to the same, trusting yourself, really understanding yourself, before you get too far down the wrong path.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, okay, Jenny, tell everybody where they can find you and all that good stuff, and then I'm gonna put some links down below so that people can go and check you out too.
Yeah, of course. Though the best place would be Instagram, and it is at ADHD Redefined. That'll be the best place to find me. And feel free to shoot me a DM. I'm a real person who actually communicates to people in my DMs. It is me, it's not a robot or some random person. And I love talking about all things business stuff, all things ADHD related.
I love that. And you are such a fabulous resource. And if you're watching this, I encourage you to reach out to Jenny if you've got anything around ADHD or questions or want her advice. I'm going to hopefully have your DMs blowing up. Jenny, sorry about that. Sorry, not sorry.
No worries.
But thank you so much. This was so much fun. Always a pleasure.
Of course. I always love chatting with you, Cameron.